In business today, three things to know. First, the IT guy gets grilled. The man responsible for fixing the healthcare website hears it from Congress. We'll have his testimony. Then, electric shortage. As Americans go back to car shopping, the industry goes all in on electric cars. But so far, sales are spotty. And we kick off our new series on alternative investments. Today's word, numismatics, the business of collecting coins. Arise Exchange starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Schmertz. All of a sudden, people are optimistic about the holiday shopping season, and you can thank Macy's. The giant retailer hasn't even had its famous Thanksgiving Day parade in New York City yet, but it did boost morale by releasing terrific and surprising earnings news. Macy's turned around a weak second quarter by delivering a solid third quarter. That followed an encouraging outlook from troubled JCPenney yesterday. So the markets followed the lead, with consumer discretionary stocks leading the way up. We'll talk more about Macy's and the holiday outlook in a moment. But first, the Dow and S&P 500 closing at record highs. Let's take a look at the numbers. The Dow up 70.96 to 15,821. The S&P 500 up 14 to 1782. And the NASDAQ up 45 points to 3965. Stocks to watch today: Potbelly, the sandwich maker, up 244 to 29.53. Starbucks trading up, turning the day around after having a $2.5 billion arbitration award ruled against it for allegedly breaching a contract with Kraft Foods. And General Motors up, or down $1.76 to 38.44. And the commodities: gold trading up $1.90 to 12.73, and oil trading up to 93.73. Tim Grisky is the Chief Investment Officer of the Solaris Group. Welcome back to Arise Exchange, Tim.
Thanks, Andrew.
You know, I want to start with Janet Yellen. In testimony today, she basically said that the Fed has more work to do. So I take it we read that the way we're expected to read it, is that she may even be more dovish than Ben Bernanke.
Well, she's known as a dove, and certainly, you know, the Fed has their foot on the accelerator here, and it's to the floor, and we expect it to stay there. And the Fed has certain targets where they will ease back from some of the quantitative easing that's occurring. But we're a long way away from those targets, we think.
Okay, let me turn to Macy's and what we got basically today. You know, after some news last week that retail sales for the holiday season may have been a little bit softer, we had some analysts talk about that. Now, all of a sudden, there's some optimism here in the markets because of Macy's. Do you fall in line thinking that we may do a little bit better this season?
Well, you know, this is really a report almost out of nowhere. Macy's had a lousy second quarter report. And the stock had really taken a huge hit all of a sudden out of nowhere, and out of all this anecdotal evidence of a weak September and a weak October. Macy's has a huge quarter, beats on earnings, beats on revenues, beats on same-store sales. And so this is, I think, an indication perhaps that the holiday season is going to be better than people expect. Expectations are really low for holiday retail sales, and the consumer might really save us here.
Yeah, well, let me ask you about that. Does it change your position a little bit in investing in some of these companies right now?
It certainly gives us pause. We really pulled back from soft goods because of what we saw in September and the issues in October, which were more related to everything going on in Washington and just depressing the consumer, and also the very short holiday season here. We really lose about a week, almost a week of sales because of the calendar. And that's still out there. But expectations, we think, have been brought down so low that there is a good chance we think we surprise to the upside.
All right, let me talk to you a little bit about oil, because you've been talking about oil stocks for a while. Oil prices kind of have been falling, but you like oil stocks in the U.S. Why?
Well, we're underweight oil, so I wouldn't say we love oil stocks in general. What we do love is the shale plays. We're producing a lot more domestic oil, natural gas here. Companies are taking advantage of that, so demand is good in those areas. And so we like the shale plays, and we like the ways of playing shale, MLPs, the rails, which also transport
Transport it.
energy.
Yeah,
And also, any type of consumer businesses in those areas where they're producing all this oil and gas. So smaller banks in North Dakota would be an interesting play as well.
and when you're talking about shale, you're talking about fracking, basically, correct?
Exactly.
And it's interesting that you mentioned the ancillary businesses, because that's a really interesting way to play this market.
It really is, and we think it's a way that's not really discovered yet, and yet these companies we think are going to do really well.
What about the U.S. gaining ground and soon to become the largest oil producer in the world? Are there some plays there, or do we just hold back for a while?
Well, I think you benefit from all those industries I just mentioned, and from U.S. producers in general. But I think it really puts a cap on the price of oil and probably the price of natural gas here. That and also the consumer really has cut back. You've got higher mileage cars. You've got machinery that's much more efficient in terms of its use of fuel. So the demand there isn't as strong as it might be in an economic recovery. The supply is certainly still there. Supply is even increasing because of all the shale, all the fracking. So we think we sort of see a top here in the commodity.
Okay, Tim Grisky, thank you so much.
Sure, Andrew.
Okay, talk to you later. This week we got word that optimism among small businesses has fallen with a dysfunctional government in Washington, confusion over the health care law, and the ongoing slow growth of the economy. Who would be surprised? Aaron Smith from A.W. Smith Financial joins us once again here on Arise Exchange to talk about small business issues. So good reasons to be depressed if you're a small business owner, but I'll tell you something, it's not the sense I get on the street from them. There's actually optimism out there, isn't there?
Well, there is optimism. Andrew, thanks for having me once again.
You're welcome anytime.
Well, you got it. The small business owner they're very smart, and it's important for us to understand the small business owners want accountability. Mm-hmm. They want accountability not only for themselves, for their employees, but also for Washington. And the debacle of the shutdown in Washington, or the government, I should say, has been a challenge for them. But nevertheless, optimism is something that's looking up.
Where does it worry them, though, in the shutdown in Washington? Does it worry them on the overall macroeconomic picture, or that certain things that they need the government to do is not going to happen?
Well, I think the biggest thing, Andrew, is they're just concerned about the volatility of the government. Very akin to the volatility of the stock market back in 2007, 2008. The volatility was up and down, but mostly down. They feel exact same way about government.
And fundamentally, what drives our economy in the United States is a stable government. That there's arguments on the margins, but government continues to function. But businesses continued to function during the shutdown, didn't they?
Oh, sure they did. I mean, resilient. There are great opportunities in this country for small business owners. There are more small business owners who are interested in continuously hiring. They're interested in bringing their opportunities to this country, but also globally. It's important that small business owners are not going to go away, Andrew. They're going to continue to fight through.
How much is the healthcare situation right now weighing on small businesses? Most of them don't have to comply just yet, but there's now concern that they're starting to get cancellation notices over some of their healthcare plans. Have you been hearing that from some of your customers and your clients?
I sure have, but let me just say this. Small business owners are taking a cool-off period, I should say, right now. They're right now just fed up with the inefficiency of the Affordable Health Care Act, right, and the not understanding the terminology of it. It's really a concern for them.
And by the way, we focus on people going to the Health Care Act and not getting what they want from it, but there's a tab on the Health Care Act for small businesses that's supposed to make this better. And how is that working out so far?
About as good as the individual side of it. Not at all.
And they want that to work, don't they? Because small businesses want better health care options.
Well, not only do they want better health care options for themselves and their employees, they want stability. Mm-hmm. They want to be able to move away from this so that they can focus on doing the task at hand, which is having profitability in their businesses and having success in their businesses.
What about the minimum wage debate that we've been going on? In Washington, they voted in certain areas to raise it to $15, specifically around the airport in Seattle. Do they support minimum wage? Because you have an interesting position that they do.
Well, I think they do, but not only until
raising the minimum wage.
Absolutely, raising the minimum wage, but not until they get the Affordable Health Care Act in place. But also, it's important that they get stable, good quality employees.
And raising the minimum wage will do that. Of course, companies can always pay for better talent, right?
Sure, they can. Okay,
Aaron Smith, thank you so much.
You got it. Thank you for having me.
See you here soon. Coming up, the White House chief technology officer gets grilled by the GOP over the Obamacare website. We'll also have the numbers of how many signed up in the first month. Here's a hint. More people attend one Lady Gaga concert. When our Rise Exchange comes back. Welcome back to Rise Exchange. A quick after the bell note, Cisco reporting revenues that missed expectations, shares sliding right now by 8%. Time now for other business headlines of the day. Official numbers have been posted on the new healthcare enrollments. Fewer than 27,000 people signed up for the program through the federal website. States running their own enrollment systems did a little bit better, signing up more than 79,000. That's barely, however, 1/5 of the nearly 500,000 people that the administration hopes would sign up and projected in the first month. And today, the sixth major congressional hearing since the rollout of the troubled health care website got underway, testifying before the House Oversight Committee on the technical issues that have prevented many Americans from enrolling in the program was top White House technology advisor Todd Park. He told the committee the website is, quote, getting better every day, and that it can now handle 17,000 account registrations an hour. And the smiling woman on the front page of the healthcare.gov site, you see her there, says she has become the victim of cyberbullying. After weeks of enduring online criticism, even suggestions that she's an illegal alien, although she is a permanent resident of the U.S., she is not a citizen, the woman who identified herself only by Adriana in an interview with ABC News talked about the harsh public treatment.
You've been dubbed Glitch Girl, the most despised face on the planet. Did you ever anticipate this type of publicity, scrutiny?
No.
Come on, don't blame her for just putting her picture up there. A test for union strength, meantime, in Washington today, in the state of Washington, amid a vote that could determine where a $3 billion airplane will be made. Ballots have been cast by some 20,000 union members in Boeing that the company says is critical to the continued development of the 777X airliner. Workers are voting whether to accept pay cuts and pension cuts. Boeing has threatened to move production of the plane to another state, possibly South Carolina, where it's already building planes in a non-union factory. The first office tower at Ground Zero since the 9/11 attacks opened today. The smallest of the four main towers on the site, 4 World Trade Center, stands at 977 feet tall, sheathed in glass. Although 2 government agencies have signed leases for half the building space, the 72-story building currently stands empty. Just yesterday, the still-to-be-completed 1 World Trade Center was officially named the tallest U.S. skyscraper, beating out Chicago's Willis Tower. Americans are back in love with the car, with lots of automotive news today we have. First, electric car company Tesla announcing it plans to make a pickup truck in 5 years. CEO Elon Musk said the truck would be modeled after the popular Ford F-Series. We'll ask in a moment if anyone really wants an electric truck. Volkswagen will be jumping into the electric car arena as well, debuting their first fully electric car next week in Los Angeles. And General Motors making waves overseas. It's moving its international headquarters out of China. For some details on these stories and the latest of what's happening in the car world, we turn now to the car coach, Lauren Fix. Lauren's columns appear on AOL, and she is a frequent guest on the Weather Channel and Time Warner Cable. She joins us via Skype right now from Detroit. Lauren, thank you for joining us today. Welcome to Exchange.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay, I want to start with Tesla, because Tesla appears to at least have a public relations problem where they have now had apparently 3 car fires. That doesn't sound like a lot, but there's not a lot of Teslas on the road. What's going on here with Tesla, and how big of a problem will this be for the company?
Well, just because there's a lot of people out there who have seen my posts on Tesla and the fires that they've had, keep in mind when you're talking about a brand new car that you've spent $100,000 on, very few of those catch fire. But when you've sold such a small amount of Teslas and 3 of them have caught fire for whatever reason, you cannot compare those 3 to all of the vehicles that are on the road today. It's not a fair comparison. So with that, I'm really surprised that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration has not done some sort of recall or an investigation. And at this point, Tesla is the only one who's saying, Elon Musk is saying it's up to them, but I think there needs to be an investigation.
Do you think that the federal government is not getting involved here because the federal government has lobbied hard for electric cars?
I see we're on the same page here, yes. They have lobbied very hard for EV cars. And if you start looking at EV cars as a whole, their sales have been not so bright, certainly not the numbers that the president has hoped for. In addition, I was contacted by someone recently, actually in the last few days, looking for a hybrid truck. And they're no longer to be found. I said their best choice is diesel because you get towing capacity as well as longevity, as well as long distances between Phillips. That's why people use diesel vehicles. Even Dodge has come up with the Ram truck, which comes in the half-ton with diesel. So it is a great solution. However, diesel is being held back mostly by the government by taxing us so heavily. I actually own diesel vehicles and diesel cars because I know that you get longer range, better engine life, and better fuel economy. And you'll notice that with all the German brands, and just starting to come on board would be GM and Mazda as well.
Let me ask you something. Elon Musk, who's the CEO of Tesla, says that soon all transportation will be run on electricity. But the truth is the physics don't support that, nor does the economies, does it? I mean, T. Boone Pickens says it should be natural gas.
Pickens is actually more accurate. Natural gas, which is CNG, compressed natural gas. Hydrogen is another option. One of the biggest issues with using other forms of gasoline is you need towing capacity. You've got all those big tractor trailers on the road. They need towing capacity. You cannot get that off of an electric vehicle. In addition, the grid cannot support you and I plugging in. And think about the range limitations. How many times have you walked around with your own cell phone or a smart device looking for an outlet? I do it all the time, even though I carry a backup battery. We've all done that. You go to someone's house.
You're not going to be able to carry a backup battery for your car.
Yeah, that would be a little heavy. And of course, he's saying that there's going to be 90-second changes in batteries. I think he's thinking a little bit farther ahead. I don't see even 2020. I mean, we're still trying to struggle with autonomous cars coming in the future and trying to get consumers used to that. I just don't think EVs there.
Ultimately, this is going to be decided in the marketplace. Are electric cars going to start selling better? In fairness, the gas cars didn't sell better until there are gas stations out there, right? So is it too early to write this off? There's a lot of money going into it.
I think there's a lot of money going into it, and part of it because there's government supporting and pushing very hard. Even in the state of California, if you don't sell EV cars, you cannot sell vehicles in the state of California, which is how Tesla made his money by selling off those green credits in order to pay back the government ahead. And I give him absolute props for being extremely intelligent and a great marketer. But in reality, every single manufacturer is starting to come up with these vehicles, which means no more market for his green credits. And Nissan's got the Leaf, and they're outselling it. The Volt hasn't sold very well. I mean, you start looking at these cars, even BMW is selling electric cars because they have to. But the fact is, people aren't buying them. They don't want them. And people that buy them don't buy them again.
Okay, Lauren Fix, the car coach, thank you for joining us here on Arise Exchange. By the way, I am one of the few people who have ever actually sat in General Motors' original EV1 car.
Very cool.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. The amazing story of generating sustainable energy from plastic bottles in South Africa when Arise Exchange comes back. Imagine getting electricity from a water bottle. Well, a South African engineer is making it happen by coming up with creative ways to generate energy. We have this story.
Skylights made from plastic bottles. Just the latest eco-friendly idea from Tony Lopes, known by those around him as an expert tinkerer.
So we've done it now.
The South African engineer gave up his career in the energy sector 5 years ago to follow his dream of generating his own sustainable energy. Now he makes lights, stoves and water pumps from old bottles and paint tins.
The bottle with the water assists with the refraction of light, disperses the light more effectively inside the room.
Like 20% of South Africans, people living in these shacks 50 kilometres east of Johannesburg don't have windows or electric lights. So something as simple as a plastic bottle can make a real difference.
Now I'm doing everything that I want to do. You do spring cleaning because it's lighter there. But before, you were not. You were doing some touches. You touch up here and there because it's darker.
Tony's tinkering brought him to the attention of Oliver's House, a charity creating a green village on the outskirts of the settlement. Here they've planted a vegetable garden, which provides children at a local nursery with free food. Tony converts any leftovers into compost, ferments them into fertiliser, and transforms them into biogas, which can be used to cook.
And this is biogas. Curiosity, how do things work, sort of drove me towards the tinkering field. And now I'm using tinkering to help others benefit from these low-tech sustainable technologies, using scrap materials, because by using scrap materials you get far more creative.
Tony's other ideas include a solar-powered cooker, which uses foil to reflect the sun's warmth, and a solar-powered geyser, which heats water using plastic bottles and milk cartons. Tony's ideas are less about saving the world than finding simple solutions to everyday needs. His next plan is to connect the nursery's toilets to his anaerobic digester to generate poop power for free. Like 20% of South Africans, people living in these shacks 50 kilometres east of Johannesburg.
Time now for our favorite person of the day, when we pick one person who grabbed our attention and not for the right reasons. Today, that person has to be the mysterious Czech fugitive, Radovan Kretcher. If he offers you a job, make sure it comes with a life insurance policy because you may end up dead. Kretcher is at the center of the bombing at the Johannesburg business near a mall on Tuesday that left 2 people dead. The business is owned by Kretcher. Since arriving in South Africa on a fake passport, the body count has been adding up. Since 2009, 10 business associates of Kretcher have been killed. Among them, his private eye, a German luxury car dealer, several Johannesburg businessmen, the owner of a strip club, and a lawyer for a colleague. In several of these cases, police believe Kretcher was also a target, and the other people just got in the way. He survived several attempts on his life, including a Hollywood-like shooting on his car. Kretcher refuses to return home to his Czech Republic, where he has been convicted of fraud and tax evasion. He says he's the target of a political conspiracy. And so, Radovan Kretcher, for staying alive while everyone else around him is dying, is our favorite person of the day. Looking for higher yields on your investments? We'll show you some out-of-the-box assets that could put more cash in your wallets. That's ahead on Arise Exchange. If you're thinking about investing in artwork, this news could help you make up your mind. This Francis Bacon painting, 3 Studies of Lucian Freud, sold for $142.4 million at a Christie's auction Tuesday night, making it the most expensive piece of artwork ever to be sold at auction. The painting is not even that old. It's from 1969. And this balloon dog sculpture by artist Jeff Koons sold for a record-breaking $58,405,000, the highest ever paid for a piece of work by a living artist, and certainly for a balloon dog. That would fit nicely in someone's front yard. Talk about putting your money in alternative investments. Our next guest says precious metals are one place to consider investing. U.S. gold and rare coin expert and author of The Insider's Guide to U.S. Coin Values, Scott Travers, is here with us now. Scott, welcome to Exchange. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
Okay, so let me ask you about coin collecting. What's the difference between collecting as a hobby and investing first?
Well, people who invest in coins exist on a continuum. They buy coins so they can go to the cash window and celebrate. People who collect coins, they buy them for the artistic and historic significance that the coins represent. But, collecting and investing are not mutually exclusive.
Sure.
The new healthy breed of persons who buy coins today, these people are collectors/investors. They buy coins because they're beautiful, but if the coins go up in value and they make 100% or 200% or 50%, they go to the cash window and celebrate.
Well, they say invest in what you like, and that certainly applies to artwork and to coins and to anything else. You like precious metals, though, if you're going to invest in coins, specifically gold. Now, we've had this huge gold run-up and then a pullback this year. So why gold? And the difference, by the way, between a regular gold coin and a collectible gold coin?
I actually don't like gold as an investment. I suggest that people buy gold purely as a survival hedge, as an insurance policy. In fact, people should be very wary when gold is touted as an investment.
Well, because if gold goes up way too high, that means the rest of the economy is collapsing.
I pray every night that we don't see $10,000 gold. Let me tell you, a country, a world with $10,000 gold would be a very dangerous place. Now, to get back to collectible gold coins and bullion gold coins, let's explain the difference.
Yeah.
I brought with me,
you have some examples here.
Sure, a typical bullion coin. Now, this coin here is an American Eagle family of gold piece, and this American Eagle coin was struck in 1986.
Produced by the Mint.
Produced by the United States Mint. Interestingly, this exact specimen I have in my hands was one of the first coins produced. I produced it at the invitation of the Reagan administration. But this type of coin struck last year or struck this year generally sells for what gold sells for. So if gold is $1,273 an ounce, the coin sells and is worth about that value.
Okay, and a collector's coin.
Now, here's a collector coin. This coin is a $20 gold piece, struck in 1892, certified as mint state or uncirculated by the Professional Coin Grading Service, and encapsulated in a sonically sealed, tamper-resistant holder. This coin is worth about $1,500, which makes it my #1 buy today because it's only a few $100s above the melt value of the gold.
Scott, if somebody was interested in starting to collect coins for an investment, where should they turn to first?
Well, you have to buy the book before you buy the coin. So my role as a consumer advocate is to raise the level of consumer knowledge from that of swindler's mark to at least informed amateur. It's a combination of book knowledge and practical experience. Join the American Numismatic Association, ANA, and buy coins that have been independently certified as to their grade and authenticity by either the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation of America, NGC.
Okay, Scott Travers. And by the way, your book, The Insider's Guide to U.S. Coin Values by Scott Travers. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for having me.
Looking ahead on Arise Exchange, Janet Yellen, the nominee for the chair of the Federal Reserve, will be questioned by the Senate Banking Committee on Thursday as part of her confirmation hearings. We'll take you out now with a quick look at the Dow, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. I'm Andrew Schmertz. Thanks for watching.